And welcome back to a brand new edition of Bleav in Panthers NFC South Division Preview Edition here on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by the fine folks over at FanDuel. Desmond Johnson in the house with the Panthers' all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. We are joined today by the Saints, New Orleans Saints sideline reporter for WWL Radio in New Orleans. He's also a co-host of the Inside Black and Gold podcast, everything you need to know about the New Orleans Saints. Jeff Nowak in the house. What's going on, Jeff?
You know, I'm feeling good. I applied for my passport this morning. I'm ready to go to Paris. Like, football's here.
How long does it take to get a passport nowadays? Like, how long is the process? I've never had a passport before. Like,
well, my wife did it, and I was worried how long it would take. My wife did it, and she got it in like 3-4 weeks. So
really?
I got enough time. I didn't have to pay the whatever it is,
the expediting fee.
Yeah, because we're talking about doing something. Me and my wife for our 20-year anniversary next year. We want to go to the islands or something. We're gonna need to
go on a golf trip, Desmond. Don't.
We talked about that. We talked about doing a golf trip too. I might go to like Hilton Head or something before the season starts. So we getting there. We getting on top of it. But Jeff, we got questions. As you know, Panther fans and Saints fans are not very fond of each other. This is the time of the year where we're all 0-0 and very excited about our teams. I'm questioning the Saints' relationship with current starter Tyler Schaff, because I don't know. Do they consider him a franchise quarterback? I know he played very well the last like 6-7 games of the year last year, and really the Saints were kind of mathematically out of it, but they disrupted the whole division that last month in particular, and we saw him and he played his behind off. Like when we saw him, thoughts on him, and do you see them kind of riding with him, or is he just kind of a patch type deal until they can get to somebody that, you know, Kellen Moore handpicks to ride them into the future?
Well, you know, it is interesting. And because I was thinking about this morning, like everyone's like interpretation of other teams is like through how they play against their team. Right. So like my feelings about Bryce Young are very heavily influenced by how he's played against the Saints, and he hasn't played very well against the Saints. What y'all have seen is probably the best of Tyler Schaff, because it wasn't always perfect last year, but he did play really well, especially in that Week 10 matchup. You know, the Saints didn't win a lot of games up to that point, and that's what really kind of opened people's eyes when he went on the road, won that game, and then they had the 4-game winning streak later in the year. So, I mean, the luxury the Saints are in right now is they don't really have to necessarily say, hey, this is our starter for the next 4 or 5 years. You know, he's in year 2 of a rookie contract, a very affordable rookie contract. What I will say is they're investing around him. Right. That's when you go out and sign David Edwards to kind of build up the offensive line. You go out and get Noah Fant for another pass catcher. You draft Jordan Tyson. You sign Travis Etienne. So whether or not he is the guy for the next 10 years, they're building a roster around him. And I think that's what this season is about. We saw what he was able to do last year with very, very limited weapons. You had Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, and that's pretty much it. You kind of put pieces around him, and then I think this year you're going to be okay, can he deliver with that? And then I think you get the answer coming out of this year of just how confident they are in him. But there's a lot of excitement around Schaff, and you know, I think the age is something that it can be looked at as a negative or viewed as a positive if he's ready to be that guy right now. Right? It's a negative if you have to develop for 3 years. It's a positive if you're ready to start and be the leader right now. So I think that's what they're going to find out this season.
So I like how you structured that with, you know, the Carolina Panthers not playing well against the Saints, and you view us how we play against you.
Yeah.
You know, Carolina Panthers have a guy named Bryce Young, and he's, you know, a lot of people have different opinions about him, but this is a guy that I feel like has been he's probably the most battle tested outside of Baker Mayfield in our division, right? And, you know, I look at, you know, the difference between, you know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. You know, Tampa's on the verge of either sliding out, right? Their magical moments might be disappearing, and we have the New Orleans with the youth of the coaching staff, getting the additional players that you just talked about. You know, this is an opportunity to really see whether or not the Saints can pass the Carolina Panthers. And the reason why I put it that way, because the Carolina Panthers are division champs, right? So you do have to hold them in that regard, despite how the season has shaped out, because they had to win certain games to be in that position. Now, my question is the leadership in position, because defensively, right, you guys lost a lot of weight there, right? Is a guy like Tyler Shuck going to be able to withstand the pressure of rising above the defense? Because that means you have to be putting up points. It means you can't just be out there just, running a ship, at slow motion. You got to be moving the ball. You got to be putting up points, because if your defense is a little bit of a weak point, is it a weak point?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the funny thing is I think the defense got protected last year because the Saints offense was so anemic, right?
Right.
Like you're averaging 16, 17 points a game. They went out and played the Rams. The Rams could have dropped 45, 50 if they really were motivated to. Seahawks the same way. So I personally think the defense is going to be, I think we're going to get back closer to the, you got to score in the 30s to win type situation this year, like the Saints were for a while. But yeah, I think.
And if I was a Saints fan, Desmond, I fear that for your quarterback, because he actually is he's a good athlete. He's an Oregon Duck. Okay.
Yeah, we found that out. Yeah.
He's an Oregon Duck, so he's got something to him. But more importantly, I feel for a guy like that, because it's again, you can do all you want to do on offense and whatnot, but he's still going to be at risk at failing, because scoring 30 points a game, that's hard to do. Tampa Bay just revamped their defense. The Carolina Panthers just revamped their defense, right? So there's a lot of uphill battle that is coming the Saints' way. So, if you're being realistic, what are you really expecting out of the Saints next year? Are they winning a record? Are they still winning 6 games or less? What's your guys' anticipation and going into the season with high hopes or low hopes?
It's a good question. I think the Saints are in an advantageous situation right now. It's the opposite of where they were when Drew retired and Sean Payton left, where average wasn't good enough. Like if you were in the middle of the pack, you were failing, right? Just because of the expectations that were set. Well, now you've missed the playoffs for 5 years. Wow. You've gone 9-8 twice, missed on a tiebreaker, but it just wasn't there. You were kind of mired in the middle. Well, the last 2 years, they kind of fell to the bottom. And that's, last year entirely and the 2024 season entirely. And then through about week 9 of this year, you were one of the worst teams in the NFL. In order to have a successful season, you just have to be competitive. You got to go out there and be in the playoff race, the playoff hunt the whole way. And then that's where you can figure out, is the defense good enough? Because right now you just don't know. You haven't put yourself in a position to know if you're the Saints over the last few years. And I think that's why this year they went out. You look at the draft, they invested completely in the offense. They went and signed Caden Ellis to replace DeMario Davis because they had to, right? Yeah. But
which is a huge loss.
Really invested.
Oh man, DeMario Davis.
Yeah,
glad we ain't got to see him anymore.
We just talking about that with Mike Evans before.
So, I think this is where you figure out, what do we need on defense? And if the answer is an overhaul, then that's next year's draft. You're dumping a bunch of assets into that. And again, I will say, the benefit of where the Saints are too, from a quarterback perspective, is you're 2 full seasons away from even have to think about that second contract. And that's going to allow a lot of flexibility. And that's the benefit of saying, hey, a guy doesn't need 2-3 years to sit and wait. But that's a question of, is Tyler Shuck the guy? Because if he is, then that's kind of a salary cap cheat code. And we saw the Seahawks is the team I always go to, which the Legion of Boom defense doesn't exist if your quarterback's making $50 million a year, right? So you can do a lot when you're on a rookie quarterback contract.
Jeff Nowak joining us from WWL Radio, Saints Sideline reporter for WWL Radio and co-host of the Inside Black and Gold podcast. I wanted to ask you about the running back room because one of the things actually just happened a couple of days ago. Actually, I didn't even realize that Alvin Kamara agreed to a 2-year extension to stay with the Saints, and it had been kind of, I guess, rumored that he might be on the way out. 30 years old. You know, that number is apparently the number for running backs in the NFL. Though we've seen plenty of running backs continue on past the age of 30 years old. The Saints, Alvin Kamara might be. Is Alvin Kamara the best running back in Saints history?
Statistically,
am I missing somebody? Like, I'm trying to think.
You have
Mark Ingram, Deuce McAllister,
Craig Hayward,
up there, Pierre Thomas.
But I mean, it seems like it's him. So they went and signed Travis Etienne too. I'd forgotten about that. So you've got some pieces back there in the running back room, and we're sitting there talking about Tyler Shufford being a young quarterback. A young quarterback's best friend is a run game. So talk to me a little bit about the run game with the Saints. What do you expect to get out of a 30-plus-year-old Alvin Kamara this year? Do you think this might be the last year he's in New Orleans? And it feels like he's been kind of in and out with injury. Not the same, of course, not the same guy he was, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Nobody is. But give me your thoughts on the running back room, and can they actually help the Saints this year, or they still got a little ways to go?
Well, before I answer that, so this is funny. So we signed Travis, who I thought was ETN. He came in and said, "Hey, I want my name to be pronounced Achan now."
Achan. Right?
So y'all have Trevor.
What?
Yeah, Trevor Achan.
So my question has been for a while, like, is Trevor saying the same thing, or is it?
This is the first time hearing. Say this again. This is the first time I'm hearing this. What now?
It's all. I've known it's been Achan.
Like this weird kind of backwoods accent, and it's really like Etchen.
Etchen.
Yeah.
But throughout his college career, no one got it right, so he just said, "Call me ETN."
I've never heard of that.
And the funny part is, like, there's another brother who has to kind of decide that for himself. So it's going to be funny if there's one brother going by HN and the other one
protecting the last name.
HN. I gotta remember that because I'm going to butcher that the whole season.
Let me know how that develops with Trevor.
We will.
Going back to your question. Yeah, so I think the situation with Alvin, he's coming off a career worst year, both in rushing and receiving yards and yards per carry in basically every metric. He's coming off a second year in a row where he missed the final handful of games, 4 or 5 games, with an injury. I think they were both knee injuries, and he's going to be 31 years old at the start of the season, right? So that's a lot of the details you would say about someone who is later on in their career, and you have to question what they can provide. But to me, I look at it and say, if you can take Alvin Kamara and make him kind of 1B in a tandem with Travis Achan, I think that you can get a lot done there, right? Like, I think when Alvin was at his best, you had him with Mark Ingram earlier in his career. You had him with even Latavius Murray. Like, that was a very viable tandem.
Yeah.
John, I remember early in your career, it was you and D'Angelo Williams. I remember vividly. I want to say it was 2009. The Giants were right on the fringe of the playoffs, and you came in and dropped 200 on them, and I was like, I think it was like a 40-9 game.
They were. That was a team that was just hoping and praying that they can just coast into the playoffs. They lost all types of juice, and we went up there to the what was the stadium called before they tore it down?
Meadowlands.
I
think so.
Yeah, I was the last game in that stadium, Desmond. Nice. And I put up 200 and some yards on the
old Giants Stadium. Yeah.
Old Giants Stadium.
Yeah. I don't care for the Giants either. So, yeah.
The largest point is you can get a lot done in tandems if both guys are committed to that tandem and guys are fresh and you do it right. I think the question going in for Alvin and what the team and why it kind of dragged out this long is I think there was a question of whether he's going to commit to that fully. Because I think it's a big ask for someone who's been the lead dog his entire career to suddenly take a back seat and adjust that kind of mindset. And I think they needed to be convinced he was willing to do it before the team committed to doing it. Seems like that's the case. And
so right now it's RB1 Achan and then Kamara's RB2.
It's got to be.
It seems like that would make the most sense. But we've had a tandem at running back really since Stu and D'Angelo kind of started it. And that was what, 2007, 2008?
2008.
Yeah. So we've literally, through different coaches, different running backs, we've literally had a 2-man tandem at running back for the most part, the majority of that time. And right now we kind of are doing the same thing with the running backs we have with Chuba Hubbard. And now Jonathan Brooks, I've been seeing some pictures of this dude looks like a tree trunk, like running around.
The Saints about to be
You told me last year you were like,
can't stop the run anyway.
It's
gonna be uphill, baby.
give me some. Another thing too, I was thinking about too. I was trying to think of a name of a wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints, and I went to go look at the roster. I'm like, I don't recognize any of these people. Bryce Lane, Mason Tipton, Kevin Austin Jr., Bub Means. I'm like, how confident are you in this wide receiver core with such a young quarterback, knowing that Kellen Moore is the head coach? And we'll get to Kellen Moore in just a second, because I'm very impressed with what he's doing so far. Do you have a lot of faith in the wide receiver room, or do you think someone can emerge that's not really a household name or being talked about? Because I don't really see a guy in the wide receiver room that the other team has to really scheme for and be like, hey, that guy, we need to make sure we got to make sure we got JC Horn over here over top of him the whole time and make sure we drop a safety. Who is that guy? Is there a guy like that in the wide receiver room in the Saints right now?
I mean, I think Chris Olave is pretty good.
Well, Chris Olave. Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where I'd rank him on the list. I'd put him as a top 20 receiver somewhere in that range, right?
That's an interesting debate, actually. I'm not sure.
It is. It's a good question. But he did go for 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 100 catches last year. So that's statistically, you have a wide receiver one, and you're going to have to pay him like that. That's the question: is they're going to have to pay him this offseason, and how much are you going to pay him?
Do they have the money to pay him? It feels like you guys are playing with monopoly money. Like you've been kicking the can down the road on the salary cap for like a decade.
It's over now. They're done with that. They're done with that. They're not paying a quarterback anymore. That's where you get it.
I also think there's like with Chris Olave, right? He's had the concussions, and so I think that's also one of the reasons why people might not be thinking about, who's on the roster, because no one's really talking about Chris Olave as they once were. And if it was being talked about, it was about him being injured, right? Mm-hmm. So hopefully he, bounces back this year and is actually, an answer that they can depend on. Because going to Kellen Moore, if you want to talk about additions in the last 2 years to the Saints, he is the best one. He's the best addition y'all got, right? You talk about a guy that played quarterback. Talk about a guy that went to Dallas, got that offense rolling. Went to Philly, got that offense rolling. Said, hey, we got a guy named Saquon Barkley. Got to give him the ball. Okay. And so when you talk about the roster that you have now, coming out of that running game talk we just had, you better run the ball. That's going to be your best friend, because if not, you're really going to have to score 30 points a game. If you don't run that ball, you ain't running the clock out, and that defense is going to be looking at you sideways.
And that's not guaranteed you're going to win at 30. Look at the Cowboys. Cowboys have scoring 30 points a game for the past 4 years, and they still can't win all the games. So Kellen Moore seems like, speaking of the Cowboys, he came from there. He seems like he's going to be a really good coach. I feel like the games you guys were winning the last half of the year last year were more because of Kellen Moore than anything else. Like the way he was scheming the offense. Like I remember being so frustrated watching us play against you guys and just thinking, man, they're just taking the simple stuff. Like whatever we're not doing right on defense, they're just exploiting it and just doing it all day. We never really figure out a way to kind of stop the bleeding, but he's going to need some help, eventually here down the road. I feel like what's happening is he's coming in, he's starting to build his team, but he's looking around the division and seeing, okay, Carolina's been on the come up for like 2 years in terms of building up talent and just getting confidence and everything else. Tampa's been running the division for the past 3 years. And then Atlanta's this weird mix of like skill position players that were drafted really high, but like the quarterback question to me is the hugest part for them between Tua and Michael Penix Jr., where you don't know who's going to be healthy, like, from week to week to play quarterback in Atlanta. With the Saints, what do you think is the number one question for the Saints going into the regular season in terms of something they need to answer to decide whether they're going to be a contender or a pretender?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to kind of hit that note on Kellen Moore, he was an interesting coach coming in, and I think what he's done on offense the most impressively over his stops is he kind of is able to morph his system to match the players on the field, right? Like what he did in Philadelphia was not anything like what he did with the Chargers. It was not anything like what he did with the Cowboys, and what he did with the Saints last year was kind of an amalgamation of all those things. And you figured it out as you went along. By the end of the season, it felt like you had an offense that worked for the players in it. It wasn't necessarily the case in week 3. Like it was ugly on offense early on. You were trying to make it work with Spencer Rattler. But you figured it out, and I think that's a sign of a good coach. The other thing that I was impressed with Kellen is you were 1-7, 1-6. I've been in a lot of these locker rooms, and it can get tense when things aren't going well. You walk in that locker room every day, you'd have no idea whether this team was 1-7 or 7-1. Like, everyone was doing the right thing, saying the right things. Like, it was a good environment. And I think there's something to be said for that from a head coach, because it was not like that with Dennis Allen. Everyone was in like open, like
yeah, they had people fighting each other.
Yeah, it was.
We had people home. We had folks wanting to fight folks in the tunnel at Bank of America Stadium.
Yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So I think that the culture that Kellen has been able to implement there, and you saw that with the coaching staff. Like, you look at this coaching staff, it's almost entirely identical to last year. Like, you had a couple guys who were in the running. Scott Tolzien, Mike McCarthy wanted to take him for his offensive coordinator with the Steelers. He was like, I'm good, I'll stay where I am. Chase Hazlitt, tight ends coach, same situation. I think that's a good sign for a team, right? Like, look at what y'all did to the Bucs, right? How things change from year to year when your offensive coordinator gets poached every year. Like, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. And the Saints aren't having to deal with that. And I think that's good for a young coach or a young quarterback too. So, I mean, the biggest question, I think we already talked about it, is can this defense stop people? Can it get stops when it needs to? Because I fear that this is going to be a season where you get that go-ahead drive in the fourth quarter. You can't get that stop in the fourth quarter, right? And I think they're going to show up. I like Brandon Staley, but I think there are a couple, they changed from a 4-3 defense to a 3-4 defense, really never adjusted their personnel at all. And now they're trying to do it again. So we'll see how that goes. But that's my biggest question.
We just did that like a couple years ago. We switched from a 4-3 to 3-4, and it's still kind of a 3-4 sort of hybrid type thing going on that Ibro has going on. But now it took them, I guess, about 3 off seasons.
You got to get the players right.
Yeah, you got to get the pieces in there to make it work.
Concept to be.
You got another question, Stu, before we get them out here?
Yeah. This is a little bit of, perspective. I want to know what your perspective is on the Carolina Panthers as a Saints fan, Saints supporter. Looking at the Panthers, what's our blind spot?
It's a good question. And I was thinking about this morning. That's why I came on talking about Bryce Young, because I remember watching the playoff game last year, and I'm like, man, Bryce is dealing. Like, there's times I turn on a Panthers game, and I'm like, who is this Bryce Young? Because I never see that Bryce Young. Dude. Right? Like, I was like, am I crazy? But I looked up the numbers. I don't think he's ever thrown for more than 170 yards in a matchup with the Saints. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think it was 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. It's 1-5. Like, it's just funny because I think it was a game against the 49ers. I want to say Monday Night Football, and I was watching. I was like, this is the guy I keep getting told about, but I never see him in those matchups. So it's tough for me to say, because I think there is a better Bryce Young than I've been exposed to, right? And if that's the case, then the build of the Panthers, of that team, makes a lot more sense. But I do question, where is the passing game, right? Just from a volume perspective, because I think it's a low number for Bryce.
It's weird with Bryce, because he might have a game where they let him throw it 45 times, and then the next week he throws it like 20 times, and like they're trying to like.
Well, we do have a coaching change right there with the play calling, right? Last year head coach Canellas was calling the plays, and then this year Izik's going to be calling the plays. So it'll be interesting to see, how the players respond just from that standpoint alone, right?
I want to see, like, to your point, Jeff, when we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show, in terms of there's A-Day Bryce Young and B-Day Bryce Young, like, and it's always in the same month too. Like, we might have A-Day Bryce Young week 1, and then B shows up and throws for 89 yards. And like, what is going on? I want to see Bryce Young in the playoffs versus the Rams. That Bryce Young, that's the Bryce Young that we've seen him do that. Like, the Falcons don't want to see Bryce Young. Every time they see Bryce Young, he's throwing for 400 plus yards. It feels like they have no way to figure this dude out. But then he goes and plays the Saints, and it's the complete opposite. So I think continuity and just consistency from Bryce is the number one thing right now for the Panthers. If Bryce takes that next step and turns into what we all hope he is, which is the number 1 overall pick, a guy we traded up for and mortgaged off a lot of players and draft picks for. To be honest, to me, it should be a no-brainer. The Panthers should win this division next year with the way they're set up. If Bryce Young is Bryce Young, if he's really truly him. If Bryce is like, on fire one week and then throwing 3 interceptions the next week, and then opens up a whole.
We can't be hot and cold like last year.
Yeah, we've been the past 2 years we've had him. It's been that way, really. Now, well, he gets a mulligan for rookie year because there was a whole lot going on in Carolina when that was happening. So we really kind of said second year was his true rookie year, and then last year was year 3, right? So he's going into year 4. This is a big year for him. Like if he shows out this year, he's looking at a $275 million, $300 million extension, after his 5th year or whatnot. So I'm hoping that that'll be the case for him. But to your point, Jeff, that probably is the biggest question for the Panthers is Bryce Young. Which Bryce Young is going to show up? Is it Bama Bryce or is it rookie year in NFL Bryce?
Because let me ask you a question. Did they pick up his option?
They did for the 5th year. Yeah,
so they did pick it up. What would you because the Bucs are dealing with this with Baker right now, and I think it's a good question. Like, what's the contract that you'd be okay with? Because
for Bryce,
there's a range where it's like you're talking $30 million. It sounds really reasonable. Then you get to 40, and you're like, then you get to 50, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, now you're like in Pat Mahomes territory when you get to like 50.
Right, but that's what everyone's making. They're all making $40-50 million now.
I have not seen enough from Bryce to feel comfortable giving him $50 million a year. Now that could change this year. Like,
I think that's the reason why you pick up his options. So
we go 13-4 this year, and he's clear.
You try to give him some motivation to say, "Hey, look, we want you to be our guy."
They gave him weapons, like they gave him
throw that pill.
Wide receivers, running backs. They fixed the O-line. Like, there's no excuses really anymore for him. If you're the dude, you've got everything at your disposal, and your offensive line is actually going to be back healthy from 2 years ago when it was really good. So. And you're getting a Jonathan Brooks who no one's really seen.
I keep waiting for Jonathan Brooks.
In like 2 years. So he hasn't really played meaningful. He played that one game in his rookie year when he came back from the ACL and got hurt in that game.
Jonathan Brooks is going to be a problem.
Stu's been telling me since the end of last year. He was like, I've been in the building. I've seen him. People can be pleasantly surprised with Jonathan Brooks. And now I'm seeing pictures of him just like on Twitter and Instagram or whatnot. This dude is massive. And when we drafted him in the second round, he was widely considered one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in that draft. He was just hurt when we got to the draft. So people kind of forgotten about him because people ask me, why'd you let whatchamacallit go?
Rico?
Yeah, Rico Dowdle. I'm like, because we got Jonathan Brooks in the building. Like, they felt like they could get the same production, if not better, from a younger guy. And the Rico story was great because he's from the state of North Carolina, went to high school here, but he was never going to be a long-term solution.
And too, Chuba Hubbard, people keep on sleeping for whatever reasons. They just keep on sleeping on him.
Your quality
my man started the season off with a messed up calf.
Mm-hmm.
You know how hard it is to be a running back with a calf that ain't explosive?
It was like a quarterback with a broken thumb when you're throwing.
You tell me.
I didn't even mention before we get you out of here again. Sponsored by FanDuel. If you go over to FanDuel right now, Panther fans, if you're wanting to win some money, the Panthers are right now in the odds to win Super Bowl in February of 2027. They are at plus 8,000. So if you want to go make some money, you want to drop a little dough and just see what happens and ride that wave, go over to sportsbook.fanduel.com, scroll down to the NFL section, hit the Panthers, win you some money. And what'd you say, Stu? Like, if you bet $1,000 on that and they win, you win 80 grand?
80 grand, no. That's how the math work, right?
Yeah, that's yeah.
If you want to bet 100, that's $8,000.
Reminds me when I used to play fantasy football back in the day, I would be hanging on like every single like moment of every game.
Now, listen, bet responsibly now, ladies and gentlemen.
Responsibly,
don't just be out there
please.
being willy-nilly with your paychecks, okay? Don't be putting your house out there on FanDuel.
And you know what they'll blame us. Well, Bleav and Panthers told us we need to bet on them, and now I lost my house. Like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. So, guys, bet responsibly. Go to FanDuel, make your bets. Jeff, before we get you out of here, let everybody know where they can get to you guys. And again, they've had me on multiple times to talk about the Panthers. I'm sure. I think it was just not that long ago, a couple weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, I know the closer we get to it, we'll probably see each other again. But tell everybody where they can find the Inside Black and Gold podcast.
Yeah, so you can follow me on X at Jeff_Nowak, and we can get your wherever you get your podcast, you can find it. It's an ampersand, to help us stand out. Like really not.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, with
I like it. I like me an ampersand. But yeah, it's WWL.com, YouTube.com/WWL Sports. All the episodes are on video, and it's myself and Steve Geller is our co-host. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. I'm excited about having stuff to talk about. Like, yes. I'm sure y'all understand completely. It's like by this point we have talked about everything over again.
Oh, me and Stu made an executive decision a couple years back.
We took a break.
We done. Like once we get like after we're done with the draft, we're kind of like, yeah, we don't have a whole lot to talk about, so we're just not going to do any shows until there's something to talk about. And Bleav is always like, give us some shows. Like, what do you want us to talk about?
Right. Just gonna have us out here looking.
We're in the same boat.
It's late July, buddy.
We used to force episodes out just to have like 2 a week, and then we're just like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, what are we doing? We're just reminiscing about the 78 Saints and all stuff. Like, no, I don't want to do that. So, looking forward to the future. Again, the NFC South is going to be nuts. No, I think some outlets are predicting the Panthers. Some are sticking with the Bucks. Some are sticking with the Falcons. And then there's some that are looking at the Saints like, hey, we're overlooking the Saints a little bit.
The only people that are looking at the Saints is the Saints.
Yeah.
Sorry to tell you, Jeff.
We're well aware.
Jeff, it's not happening this year. But you guys can definitely win some games to help us out.
Please beat down the Falcons and the Bucks for us. We appreciate it every time.
The beauty of the NFC South is that every team is sitting in their home market being like, this is our year.
We got to change. Exactly.
That's exactly it.
Whether it's true or not, we don't know. If you're winning the division at 9 games, everyone has a chance. If it's getting into the 10, 11, 12 win range, then that takes a team that can go win those games. Like I've always said this, like I think every team in the NFL can win 9 games in a given year if everything goes right.
Things go a certain way. You're absolutely right. Because it feels like the majority of the team is in the medium. Like they're all 500. And then you got maybe every year 4 or 5 teams that are way above that, and 4 or 5 teams are way below that. But everybody else is 8-9, 9-8, somewhere remotely close to it. And
the Derek Carr Saints went 9-8. Like that was the worst season I've ever been a part of, and somehow they got to 9-8. So. I've stopped being impressed by 9-8, I guess.
Hey, here in Carolina, we've gone through it. So 9-8 to us last year was like, or 8-9, I should say.
8-9 was all right.
A breath of fresh air.
8-9 was just fine.
Yeah, we were like,
get us in that playoff.
NFC South champs. Let's go. Print the t-shirts. So like
I hear it.
Now, of course, we're looking for more this year. We got some higher. Well, we had a higher expectation every year, but this year we kind of are leaning on those expectations. Like we expect them to happen. So we'll see what it is. But we got to get Jeff out of here. We still got some more coming. Again, season 7 is kicked off for Bleav in Panthers. We'll have Panthers play-by-play radio host Anish Shroff in the house a little bit later on. And we still got to do a Falcons preview as well. So we'll get all that in for you. The Hall of Fame game's got the Panthers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Our very own Luke Kuechly getting into the Hall of Fame. I think Stu said you're going up there. My wife was actually talking about taking me up there for anniversary. I was like, I don't know if I want to spend $200 on a ticket to watch the Hall of Fame game and watch, fifth string play. And it's like, I don't know if it's worth the drop to Ohio. So I don't know. I might pop up though. I might pop up. If I do, I'll let you know. So we got a lot coming the next couple of weeks. So we'll get you ready like we always do here in Bleav in Panthers. We will see you guys then. Again, presented by FanDuel. Find us on all major podcast platforms. We'll see you guys next time. Keep pounding.